Chapter 141, Handing Over the Hostage. Several minutes later. I apologize for the actions of my subordinates. Feng Wu bowed slightly in embarrassment. He had fought with her and knew that he couldn't afford to make an enemy out of her unless his powerful ancestor gets outside from the closed-door cultivation. Well, even then, he cannot avenge the deaths of his subordinates as he needs the help of her master. "So may I know the reason for your visit?" he asked her in a polite tone. His eyes wandered over the teenager. He wondered who it is. It was then she threw away the boy at Feng Wu's feet. "This is Jai Guanli, the second child of Jai clan, but is selected as the heir due to his high talent. It is my master's present to you in advance to show how serious he was taking this trade between you." Heir to the Jai clan? Feng Wu was naturally surprised. Why wouldn't he be? It was only a couple of days since he finalized the deal with Mark, and now the latter already brought an important hostage to him. "But how did you get him?" he asked with his eyes widely opened. Elena shrugged her shoulders and gave a cold reception to him. "It doesn't matter to you. My master told me to inform you that whatever you do with you is your wish, but if his name comes out in public that he's working with you, he said that he won't hesitate to even raise the entire Kunyu mountain range to the ground just to hunt you down." After finishing her business, she no longer stayed there and started flying back to the southern Yuan, where her master is traveling towards the final destination, the dungeon of Yan'an. With battle tank gone, Mark was traveling in a self-propelled howitzer. Although this one is quite bigger than the battle tank and is even able to handle a stronger opponent if one doesn't take skills into consideration, the space inside is quite cramped. Unlike the battle tank, there is no turret here but was divided into front and rear chambers. The front chamber only contained a driver's seat. Just like with the other normal battle tanks, the driver almost has to be in a sleeping position to even drive straight. Along with this disadvantage, the powerful 155mm cannon cannot target the enemies who are standing behind. Thankfully, the rear chamber has a bunk at the left and right top for sleeping. Apart from that, there were 2 more seats available in the back. One has a computer screen with him, and the other can be elevated to the top of the exit where they can shoot the enemies with the 7.62 machine gun while comfortably sitting. Currently, Mark was driving at a slow pace of 10-15 km/h while waiting for Elena's return. Just a few weeks ago, he would be fear of death every time he goes outside without protection, but as he grew stronger, he became more reckless with making new enemies as well as fearless of ambushes even on traveling alone. As he was carefully searching for the whereabouts of the dungeon, he received a message from Elena about her return. He stopped traveling and parked the vehicle outside of a village. He just stayed inside the vehicle to fill his stomach and then take a brief nap as he knew it would take her a while to return. The distance between the Yuan province and the Kunyu mountains is about 600 kilometers far by the air route. With the helicopter only having an 800 km range and Mark having low ether points, she would have to travel on foot while using teleportation skill every 30 seconds. Mark originally planned to go inside alone, but he decided against it after a second thought since he doesn't want to take that advancement pill every time. As he was taking a nap in the rear chamber, a series of knocks woke him up. Unlike the battle tank, this howitzer has an entrance-exit in the rear like a jeep. With a press on the button, the metallic door was opened without any noise and Mark jumped down on the ground. 2 soldiers in a fully armored state were standing on the side. One of them knocked again. "What do you want?" he asked. The 2 of them turned around and found Mark was standing there with an annoyed expression. One of them acted surprised. "Brother Lu, it's you." As Mark was taken aback by his sudden greeting, the guy realized what he had blurted just now. He cleared his throat. "I mean Lord Lu, pardon my manners. I'm Lu Zhen. We met at Jin province during the dungeon break." Mark went down to his memories. He remembered the soldier. "Ah, yes, you are the guy who told the stories about your LT, General Hu, right?" "You remembered me." Lu Zhen let out a sigh of relief. He then said, "I didn't know that this belongs to you. We just heard the villagers panicked about a mysterious thing on the outskirts. Since he had to wait for a while and there's a familiar person before him, Mark decided to chat for a bit. Are you stationed here? Mark knew that the Southern Empire was in the protection of the Second Prince's army. No, actually, a dungeon break is about to occur about 20 kilometers away from here. We came here to evacuate the people, just in case. Lu Zhen informed, giving a surprise. A dungeon break, Mark furrowed his brows. Is it the dungeon of Yannon? Yannon, isn't it already cleared a while ago? The other soldiers asked in doubt, to which Lu Zhen nodded. Yes, this was a different one, appeared about 3 days ago. To be honest, I don't think it is as serious as the last time. The portal size is too small, but since it affected the land for 9 kilometers in radius, I suspect it is a rank 5 dungeon. I see, Mark nodded in understanding. Now that there's no dungeon to clear, he decided to return. Okay then, it's time for me to start going. When he was about to part his way, Lu Zhen stopped him. Wait, General Wen is currently staying at the camp. It is not far away from here. He would be happy to receive you as a guest. Chapter 142. Brother Lu, you are a savior. Not so long ago, when he met Bai Zun for the first time, Mark kept the peak strength potion ready to use at any time. He was so tense that he didn't even allow Supreme Commander to walk with him. It was only after he entered the store Mark relaxed back then. Now it was the complete opposite. With the Shimmerwood Turtle and Pritcha the Cannibal ready to be summoned from the familiar's inventory at any time, Mark felt any more comfortable. Well, that's to be expected. After all, no one in your battalion mastered the guns. Mark replied to Lu Zhen, who said that practicing with firearms is extremely difficult. Ding, you successfully created Contender, break action single-shot pistol. Ding, you successfully created falling block rifle, single shot. Ding, you successfully created .204-inch rifle cartridge, 5.2x47. Ding, you successfully created an M99 rifle, single-shot anti-material precision rifle. Ding, you successfully created .50 BMG, 12.7x99. Ding, you successfully created PZF-3 IT-600 anti-tank rocket launcher. Ding, you created a 110 heat warhead. Contender. Grade NA. Effective range 10 meters. Absolute range 20 meters. Description: a pistol with a single round of ammunition, capable of inflicting heavy damage on a civilian and 1 circle spirit warriors. Falling block rifle. Grade NA. Description: a 3.2 kg rifle capable of inflicting damage on 2 circle and below spirit warriors by shooting .204 cartridge. Effective range 100 meters. Absolute range 200 meters. M99 rifle. Grade NA. Weight 10 kg. Description: a rifle capable of inflicting damage on advanced 3-circle beasts or spirit warriors of fighter path from a far distance using .50 caliber ammunition. PZF-3 IT-600. Grade NA. Weight 13.3 kg. Effective range 400 meters. Absolute range 600 meters. Description: a destructive rocket launcher capable of destroying 5-circle or lower realm beasts and spirit warriors. While chatting with Lu Zhen on the way, Mark, who had put aside the single-shot firearms unlock, until now, started to make them so that he can make a deal with the second prince. Since the sales weren't that great until now, Mark didn't introduce those new models into the store. He doesn't want the customers to be confused about choosing a wide variety of guns, when most of them didn't even know the concept of a gun in the first place. However, the second prince is different. Even if he was as clueless as others, he wanted to form a separate division for firearms. So, Mark wanted to introduce these varieties to him. They might be single-shot but far better than the single-shot pistol. This is the reason he agreed to the visit right away, when the soldier requested him to come and visit their general. While the other soldier named Zai Tian was left behind at the village to oversee everyone's packing their luggage, Lu Zhen took Mark to the campsite. The scene was similar to the past except that most of them are soldiers. Maybe it's due to the fact that the dungeon is of lower rank, or maybe it's because it is in a region where there is no major town or city located. The reason doesn't matter to Mark. He doesn't intend to stay much longer either way. As Lu Zhen and Mark were walking towards their general's tent, a few soldiers who interacted with Mark the last time recognized him. But only one of them was bothered to greet him. "Hello, Lu Zhen, and you must be owner Lu, right?" A soldier named Yi Liang greeted them with a smile on his face. He had a P365, a 10-round semi-automatic pistol, hanging over his waist in some kind of leather pouch that vaguely resembles a holster. "Are you a member of the firearms unit?" Mark asked right away as he glanced at the gun. Yi Liang nodded while taking it out. "I was personally chosen by the general to be a part of the 20-member unit. I should say it's actually very useful in capturing the civilian-level thieves and street gangs, especially if they are running away. Even at close strength, we don't need to worry about controlling our strength. All we need to focus on is our aim. Whoever made this is a genius." Mark just smiled in response while speaking in his head. That genius is standing right in front of you. But that smile was short-lived, as the holographic screen appeared before his eyes. "Ding, the system is the weapon maker. The host is a weapon seller." "I know that, okay," Mark replied to the system before blurting out with a complaint. "Ah, that sassy system, it never fails to get on my nerves." What?" Both of the soldiers stared at him. They didn't understand his words properly. Mark realized the mistake and just said to them, I'm sorry, I was thinking about something else. Anyway, Lu Zhen, let's get going." He bowed slightly to Yi Liang and proceeded to walk forward. Thankfully for him, just when they are about to reach the tent, the general himself stepped out along with a graceful-looking lady and her maid. His expression looked a bit stiff, while the lady had a glow on her face. It was then Mark's eyes met with Shang Wen. He immediately left her and walked forward, calling out his name aloud with affection. "Brother Lu, what are you doing here?" Mark was a bit surprised by how this biological half-sibling addressed him. The second prince's facial expression also seemed a bit exaggerated. It was as if he was looking at his long-lost brother. Well, that is true in reality, but the prince doesn't know it, so Mark wondered why he was behaving this way. It's not like they were close or something. They only met 2 times. Is it because he killed the Cerberus and the second prince wanted to make friendship with him? Mark immediately shook his head and threw that thought away, for everyone in the Empire knew that the second prince isn't like that. However, soon he understood the reason. Upon reaching Mark, the second prince grabbed him and slowly whispered, "Lu Zhen, please play along for a moment." Mark's eyes then fell on the lady, who suddenly furrowed her brows. He realized it and played along, as he was the master of making fake expressions. He widely smiled. "It's been a while, Brother Shang. I'm actually here for a very important business. It's very urgent." "Is that so? Let's talk in the tent." Mark was personally escorted by the second prince, stupefying Lu Zhen, and the surrounding soldiers, who they never saw their general acted to someone this way. Since they were addressing each other as brothers, maybe this new handsome guy is a close friend or maybe a childhood friend. Of course, there are a couple of ladies around who usually fantasize about male-male relationships by reading those banned novels. Mark being handsome and delicate, and their general being buffed and tough, messed up their imagination even more. The time of the day happened to be the evening after the dinner time, added as a bonus. However, there's one person who was in displeasure. It is the graceful-looking lady that was abandoned and ignored. Chapter 143. Another deal with the second prince. As Mark and Shang Wen went inside the tent, the lady asked her maid, "Chang Zini, find everything about that guy. I want to know who is he, that His Highness, who didn't even bat an eye to me but act cheerful towards him." Meanwhile, inside the tent, the second prince let out a sigh of relief and took a seat. "Thank you, Lu Zhen. If you hadn't come in time, I would have been suffocated by that snake." "If you don't mind me asking, who is that lady?" Based on her clothes, she looked like a noble. Mark was curious. She's Yuan Meili, the third daughter of Yuan Weishi. He is the governor of northern Yuan province. My late mother used to be friends with her mother, and once upon a time before I was born, before my mother married my father, they jokingly made a pact to wed their children to each other. After I lost my mother, this family didn't even care about my existence, and when I finally became the general, they suddenly remembered Lady Yuan's friendship with my mother. What a bunch of annoying people. After rattling out for a while, he sighed once again before he looked at Mark. So, Lu Zhen, what are you here for? There's still a week before our agreement for the next batch of bullets. Mark replied, I was passing by. One of your soldiers, Lu Zhen, recognized me and invited me to the campsite. No, a person like you will never come all the way here just to greet me. I'm sure that even if the Emperor is camping here, you wouldn't accept the invitation for no reason. The second prince was blunt with his response. He didn't buy the excuse at all. Mark felt as if he was seen through once again. He couldn't help but remember the last time, during the dungeon break, the second prince left behind a note, warning him not to be reckless with using the battle tank. As a result, Mark was forced to make a huge detour to take them by surprise from behind. He directly opened the inventory and took out a gun that weighs at least 10 kg. Thud. He placed it on the table rather casually. This is M99, a .50 caliber rifle-type firearm that can accurately shoot the targets from 1,800 meters. As for its absolute range, it is about 2,600 meters, but its accuracy drops heavily. 2,600 meters. The second prince was visibly shocked and just stared at the rifle. Mark continued to explain, you have a telescopic sight scope, right here, which even has a 10x zoom feature so that it is easy to target from far away. However, unlike with P365 that you are using here, this one is a single shot. That means you need to load one bullet after another. Mark then took out a 12.7x 99 bullet and showed it to the second prince. You need these types of bullets to shoot from this rifle, and each of them is powerful enough to take out the 3-circle realm spirit warrior of the intermediate stage. If the target is a mage or another spirit path other than fighter, you can even take out the beginner elementary stage of the 4-circle realm. Since you can shoot it from far away, the one who mastered this weapon can shoot the eyes of your target while you fight. After all, the eyes are sensitive parts. Whether it is a 1-circle realm or 7-circle realm, eyes are always vulnerable, but of course, if they are protected by energy, nothing can be done, just saying. All I can say is that these are the perfect tools for assassination. Shang Wen finished the sentence with a dazed expression. The weapon he saw last time and the one he saw now are entirely on different levels. That's right, Mark nodded. The enemy would care, even commoners, if they are well equipped in armor and have weapons in their hands, but what if they are placed far away? Shang Wen couldn't help but imagine a scenario where a commoner was placed on the rooftop of high-story buildings or on the top of the hills. After thinking for a brief amount of time, the second prince commented, I bet this won't be cheap. Mark replied with a nod, it isn't easy to make such a weapon. Even though I only possess one, 10 more will be procured by the end of the week. As for the cost, 250 gold coins per rifle. The special bullet, on the other hand, costs only 1 gold coin. That's within my expectations. The second prince was calmer when he heard the price. Remembering something from the past, he further said, this isn't the weapon you mentioned during our last meet, right? Mark waved his hands, of course not, Your Highness. It will take at least a couple of weeks before its prototype gets ready, but if you are interested, I can ask my manufacturers to complete it by next week. The second prince nodded and then stared at the rifle. Can I hold it? Mark gestured with his 2 hands. Shang Wen stood up on his feet and walked forward. He lifts the rifle. It's heavy. Mark pointed to the inverted V-shaped stand. Yes, that's why there's the mount. Shang Wen put it down again. Let's not go too far. It was only recently my subordinates were training with small ones. I'll check this one out next week during my visit to Imperial City. Mark was disappointed that he couldn't make a deal. Unlike in his past world, the selling of weapons here is too easy, and there's a lot of business potential when the client is none other than the military. But he didn't back away from trying. Now that he came all the way, he would procure at least one deal. Placing it back into the inventory, he said, "If that's the case, then I have a simple but destructive weapon. Power-wise, this weapon can kill a 5-circle realm spirit warrior or beast." "What did you say?" The second prince, who put down the rifle and walked away, abruptly turned his head and spoke loudly. If the previous was a surprise, then this one gave enough shock to skip his heartbeat for a moment. Mark calmly took out the rocket launcher and a 110 heat round from the inventory, placing them on the table. "Behold PZF-3, IT-600, or you can simply call it as a rocket launcher. I won't go into too much detail and waste your time. It has an absolute range of 600 meters. Each warhead will automatically self-destruct upon either contact or traveling 600 meters, blowing up everything in the vicinity with the power of the 5-circle realm, intermediate stage. On a side note, the explosion range will be about a 30-meter radius, so one also had to be careful when firing it. This weapon costs 1,000 gold coins and each warhead costs about 5 gold coins. So far, this is the most expensive of my collection. I'm sure whether to sell such a dangerous weapon to the public, so I haven't ordered them anymore either. If your highness is interested, I can try it. If not, please do recommend me a few noteworthy people to whom I can sell it without worrying. I want a live demonstration." This time, the second prince didn't even take time to think and asked for a demo. Chapter 144, Loyalty of Contracted Spirit Beasts. Right away, it's dark outside, not safe for testing. Mark doesn't want casualties to occur when making such a good deal, so he couldn't help but hesitate. The second prince thought for a bit and asked, "Then, will you stay here until the morning?" In a normal case, Mark would have rejected, but for the sake of the deal, he agreed to it. "No problem." "Fukeo," the second prince called out someone. A person in cotton wear entered the tent and bowed. "Your Highness." Shang Wen pointed his hand at Mark. "Lu Zhen is our esteemed guest. Make preparations for his stay." The attendant bowed to the prince and left the tent. After a while he returned and spoke politely, "Please follow me." "We'll meet tomorrow morning then." The second prince gave a farewell to Mark and went outside for a usual patrol to check on his subordinates. Soon Mark stood before a large tent, capable of housing even 10 people. The treatment is much better than the last time. He thought it might be because he's the weapon seller, but in reality, this has more to do with the fact that fewer numbers are camping around. Earlier, he wanted to ask for a bigger tent so that Elena can also stay in, but it turned out to be unnecessary. He sat with Lu Zhen and a couple of other soldiers around a campfire for a couple of hours before going back to the tent and sitting on the mattress. Open Familiar's inventory. Savage Baltro is in red color, indicating that it is still recuperating. Lightning Wolf and Tundra Bear are gray in color, indicating that they are unavailable for summoning due to low ether points. The remaining slots are glowing. Mark clicked on the wolf. "Ding, you are about to summon Pritcha, the cannibal in 3, 2, 1. A blinding flash of light appeared beside him, before revealing a dark gray wolf that is about the size of an average male adult. Woof! A powerful bark escaped from it, alerting the soldiers nearby. Mark instinctively moved away as the wolf bared its fangs against him. Sensing the hostility coming from it, he stored it in the inventory, once again. "System, what's going on?" "Ding, the spirit beast was contracted forcefully and therefore has less loyalty towards its master. Please check out its details." "Ding, would you like the system to erase its memory? Rank 5 spirit beast costs 200 credits. As a result, the loyalty will be fixed at 50%. "Oh boy, there's this too." Mark grabbed his forehead. If such is the case, then this was indeed an issue that needs to be taken seriously. He felt a headache when he found the wolf's loyalty is at 5%. "System, tell me, how much you charge for erasing the memories of the remaining 2 contracted beasts?" "Ding, Erasing the memory of Shimmerwood Turtle costs 200 credits, and erasing the memory of Savage Baltro costs 1 million credits. If the host chose to use gold coins, it will be added to the debt. 1 million, Mark gasped in shock. He complained, "That's like 5 million gold coins. It's enough that it can even be captured, but to summon it, I need to shell out such a huge amount of money. Are you doing this on purpose to trap me in debt?" Ding, Savage Baltro is a beast king of legendary realm 8 Circle. Erasing its memories will be as expensive as erasing the soul fragment of Emperor Shun. The system is fair. Please don't put false allegations. Mark felt like all of his hopes dashed away. Just until a while ago, he was dreaming about fulfilling the justice to Lu Zhen with its help, but now, his goal was suddenly teleported to far away. As for agreeing with the deal, he would never do it. It's because if he put 5 million gold coins on debt, then just that 1% monthly interest itself will crush him down. It was then something clicked inside his mind. He asked, "System, how far the beast's disloyalty will for? Will it attack its owner? Will it attempt to kill its owner and escape the contract?" Ding, no, the spirit beast will refuse to listen to the orders, and might be unwilling to protect its owner, if the latter is facing life-threatening danger. Then it will be fine, Mark sighed in relief. He quickly made the decision and said, "System, erase the memories of Pritcha, the cannibal, and Shimmerwood Turtle, and I would like to change their names too. Will that be possible?" Ding, of course, like with the summoning beasts, the host simply needs to go to their details and change the name. The title can also be removed, but the system doesn't recommend it as the host would only lose out on bonus stats from it. While its sassiness never disappeared, the system at least talks more now. It even provides suggestions on its own. I wonder how it will change after being upgraded further. Mark mumbled to himself while reading the detailed notifications. Ding, 400 credits will be deducted from the inventory. Proceed. Or would you like to use gold coins instead? Use credits, Mark answered it. Since he earned a lot of credits during the past few days, 400 isn't much for him at the moment. While the system is in the middle of erasing their memories, a couple of soldiers entered his tent and looked around. They found no one but Mark. One of them deeply bowed. "We apologize for the sudden intrusion. We heard a wolf's bark from this place. I guess we are wrong." "Oh, don't worry, it's mine. She's a bit angry with me. Everything is fine now." Mark waved his hands with a smile on his face. "Ah, a summoner," another soldier exclaimed in surprise, for he couldn't sense even a tiny bit of ether from Mark. Both of them apologized once again and left the tent, informing their superior. Everything calmed down quickly. About 5 minutes later, the system informed him about the removal of the memories of the wolf and turtle. Mark resummoned the wolf, once again after changing its name. This time it didn't bark and just stared at him curiously. Mark stood up on his feet and raised his hand towards it. "Hello, nice to meet you, partner. I'm Mark Spencer. Let's work together." The dark gray wolf lowered its head and allowed him to pet, letting out a small growl. Ding, the host's sincerity touched the contracted beast's soul. The loyalty of Noel is increased by 12%. The familiarity of Noel changes from neutral to ally. There are 3 states for a contracted beast: ally, neutral, and rebel. The beast turns into a rebel when its loyalty is below 40%. From 40% to 60%, where half of the contracted beasts stay in the neutral state. In this state, even tiny things like greetings, food, or scolding will change its mood. But once it crosses 60%, it becomes an ally. It lends its power to its owner. The more its loyalty increases, the more it will be willing to give up its life. Seeing that the beast has already become its friend with just a small greeting, Mark gave his first order, but more in a polite tone, treating it more or less like an equal. "I'm going to be busy with something important. For the next hour, please guard my body." Chapter 145, Debut of Tigan Series Firearms. Ding, you entered Mark's factory. Ding, all your skills are locked. Ding, Familiar's inventory is locked. Okay, let's get started. Mark returned to the real world and went to an empty table, taking a seat. Thankfully for him, a modern pencil was already invented in this world, so it made the job easier for him. He spread a big white sheet of paper on the table and then fell into thoughts. Okay, what should be my first weapon? I should also take ammo into consideration in order to use it. With the help of the system, I can create ordinary 9 RIP9 0.5 caliber and .204 caliber bullets, 12-gauge shotgun shells, 7.62 x 51 and 9 mm x 57 mm ammo. 9 mm is too weak unless I need to make a weapon that can shoot it with at least Mach 5 or above speed. It's too much of a hassle and I have already too many types of pistols. M99 already makes a good sniper rifle. Maybe, should I make something like Sig Sauer's SSG 3000? Should I create a variant of the model with a 10-round capacity? Mark immediately shook his head. Nah, I will already receive a set of rifles once I complete the main quest. I need to make something that I don't have and won't have in the nearby future either. Well, at least a few weeks would do. The first weapon should be innovative, not a boring one either. Think Mark. Think of all the ones that were shut down because of budget and other technical issues. You don't need CAD to design the parts. You have a system that's faster than even the world's fastest quantum computer. It will help with analysis and take care of other complex calculations. You just need a design and the required amount of material. Let's see, out of all the ammo I have, the most powerful is 7.9, but I don't want a rifle. And wait a second, the shotgun, all I need to design is an auto shotgun based on a machine gun. Let's bring my Tigan 3 to this world. I might as well bring out the whole Tigan series. I have enough material anyway. I can think about the attachments after the factory levels up. For the next 90 minutes, Mark became busy with drawing various parts of 5 weapons. 2 of them are handguns, where the first one is a machine pistol, capable of firing automatically like a submachine gun. Tigan 1 notably uses a front-loaded magazine. The second one, Tigan 2, also known as Executioner, looks like a bigger version of a revolver. Instead of 9 mm bullets, the cylinder holds 8-gauge shotgun shells. However, as he hadn't unlocked them, Mark should reduce the size so that he can use 12-gauge shotgun shells instead. The third one, Tigan 3, is a double-barreled fusion gun with twin triggers. It can act like a grenade launcher and fully automatic shotgun at the same time. There is only one magazine, though, on the back. It holds shotgun shells of about 16 rounds and can reach a fire rate of 120 RPM. The upper barrel can shoot grenades at the enemies, although it is a single-shot one. Its maximum range is also as high as 600 meters. Unfortunately, due to high production costs and complex design, it could only be in service for 4 or 5 years. This is the current top priority of Mark. The fourth one, which is the 57th Personal Defensive Weapon, PDW-57, of the Army, codenamed Tigan 4, is a fully automatic submachine gun with a magazine size of 50 rounds. This gun, personally designed by Mark in his previous life, can also fire the target from 600-700 meters range. The fifth and final weapon of the Tigan series is a semi-automatic 28th Marksman Rifle of the Army, Mr. 28, which uses a .308 or 7.62 caliber to shoot down the enemies at about 600 RPM. Its range is also high, about 1,200 meters. With the scope attachment readily available to create from the gallery, he was good to go with it. However, unlike with the system-made weapons, all of these ones will have an accuracy issue. Mark needs to be extremely careful. Once his designs were ready, he started to think about the materials. As a part of beginner's package, System had provided me materials like stainless steel, iron, aluminum alloy, and titanium for the weapon and smokeless powder for ammunition. Let's put aside the ammunition for now. I already decided to go with the existing one. After all, the system could provide me any number of ammo with just a click, although it's really a mystery how it does that. Anyway, I don't want this robot to tirelessly work on the bullets. Let's think about that in the future. No matter what, titanium makes a good material for the weapons, but I don't have much of it, and definitely for sure I can't mass-produce them. Who knows where I can find titanium ores? How about making the prototypes only using it, and when I mass-produce, I can use other cheaper materials? Yes, this is a good idea. Mark returned to the factory and handed the third one with designs of several parts of the gun to the robot, along with the titanium slab for the material, and let it take care of the rest. The system promised to make the finishing touches like rubber grip and the painting. So, he no longer stayed there and returned to the real world. Once the parts were done, he will go there to inspect them again. Until then, he will rest while waiting for his beautiful assistant. Roughly about 2 hours later, midnight arrived. Since the threat of dungeon break is more than 2 days away, the soldiers were also appearing to be relaxed. Only 10% of the 1,000-member army was standing guard, while the rest are sleeping under the sky with campfires around. Elena reached the entrance of the camp. She saw a few soldiers sitting around here and there, chatting among themselves. She fell into thoughts for a second as her aquamarine eyes scanned everyone. Except for one, everyone is under 7 Circle Realm. Let's ask the master. Very soon she received a reply and she nodded to herself. Okay, good. Not bothering to introduce herself to the strangers, she used the invisibility skill and rushed towards her master's tent. Meanwhile, at one of the tents, Shang Wen suddenly opened his eyes. He furrowed his brows, an intruder. Chapter 146.1 Ambush from the Necromancers, Part 1. Elena, you are here. Mark lets out a smile and finally lies down on the mattress. Despite the wolf acting as the guard, Mark couldn't sleep properly inside the tent. Of course, while he no longer fears the attack of an enemy, during the sleep, he would still be vulnerable. He doesn't want to take a chance to depend on this wolf that is weaker than the 6 Circle Realm expert and only has 62% loyalty. It was only after reuniting with his beautiful assistant, Mark felt secure and proceeded to close his eyes. Elena sat close to him and focused on recovering her stamina. Unlike Alan, she doesn't have the privilege of having unlimited stamina whether it's day or night. It's just that her attacks will be a lot stronger after the sunset, and she will be immune to debuffs/curses. So she needed to recover her stamina once in a while. Meanwhile, at the general's tent, Shang Wen got down from the bed. Intruder. He activated his senses to full but didn't find any powerful aura. He tilted his head with a confused look on his face. Strange. Am I too paranoid? The second prince went back to sleep. A little more than 3 hours passed away. It was about 3:40 in the morning. The ones who are on guard went asleep and the second batch of soldiers took their turns to replace them. However, due to the fact that everything is peaceful and no indication of any emergency, everyone is in a half-sleep state. Roughly about 50-60 were fully awake. About a couple of kilometers away from the campsite, 7 mysterious figures are walking at a slow pace with fire torches in their hands. All of them wore black robes and hoods along with silver masks, except for the one in the middle. This person was walking a couple of footsteps ahead of them as if he was leading the unit. 2 soldiers were waiting for them. The 2 of them bowed to the 7 of them. The leader of the unit asked, "Any troubles?" One of the soldiers shook his head. "No, my lord. General Wen is resting in his tent. LT, General Hu isn't available. There are no other 6 Circle Realm spirit warriors among the adventurers either." The leader, who appeared to be in his 50s, nodded with a stoic face as he took out a pouch. "Good. Here, 100 gold coins for your work. Now, both of you may leave unless you wish to become casualties." After taking the pouch full of gold coins, the 2 soldiers left the place, becoming deserters. The leader of the hoods then turned his head. "Let's get started." Everyone else nodded and proceeded to make a circle and start incantations. "O the god of death, Yan Wang, I crave thou to bless me the..." After a minute-long incantation, a 7-pointed star seal appeared with each of them as vertices. It glowed brightly in the darkness for about 5 seconds before a figure rose from it. It was a black horse with a mysterious figure with a buffed body sitting on its back. This mysterious figure was wearing black armor from top to bottom. His left hand was grabbing the reins of the horse while his right hand had a double-bladed axe. The only thing off about him is that he had no head or whatever. Instead, there's green energy erupting above his neck. Lord Zia, the Headless Knight. The leader of the Hoods raised his voice while looking at the horse instead of the person. Vanquish the enemies of Su sect and Zia dynasty who were camping at the place, 2 kilometers away from here. Your prime target is the holder of Phoenix bloodline. The middle-aged fellow pointed the direction, where the campsite could be seen, on an elevated flat ground. As soon as the orders passed, the Headless Knight pulled the reins. The horse neighed and started running in the air at a fast pace. The leader raised his staff, creating a purple-colored portal. He then looked at the other 6. Let's go. They walked into the portal. Meanwhile, at the campsite, Mark was in a deep sleep. Elena recovered her stamina and therefore, she told the beast to take a rest, taking charge for the lookout. It hasn't even been a minute. All of a sudden, she sensed a presence of a powerful foe in 1 km surroundings. Elena stood on her feet and walked towards the entrance of the tent. From far away, she saw a ray of dark energy coming straight towards the camp. Her facial expression changed to that of a frown. Powerful ether core, 82 million ether particles. It's an advanced stage 7 circle enemy. The android quickly got back to her master to shield him from a possible attack. Within no time, the black ray reached the camp and revealed itself to be a headless figure on a black horse that can fly without any wings. What the hell is that? A nearby soldier screamed on top of his lungs as he stared at the headless figure that stayed silent for about 5 seconds before flying towards the general's tent. Every soldier was instantly alerted. Naturally, the second prince also sensed the foe. This time, he directly charged out of his tent without wearing any armor. The Headless Knight stopped just a few feet away from his target. "Who are you?" Shang Wen summoned his semi-divine flaming sword and pointed it towards the enemy. But there's no reply from the guy. Of course, how could there be when it doesn't even have any head? Instead, the Headless Knight pulled the reins. The black horse neighed and landed on the ground before charging forward, while the knight slashed at the second prince after confirming the target. As the speed was too fast, the second prince jumped to the side and evaded the attack. The horse collided with the tent, but instead of charging through, it passed through it and quickly rushed outside. Just in those 2 seconds, Shang Wen figured out that as a puppet, that means the owner must be nearby. His eyes wandered around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 spirit warriors. 1 is at peak stage 6 circle, 2 are at intermediate stage 6 circle, and the remaining 4 are at peak stage 5 circle. Chapter 147.2, Ambush from the Necromancers, Part 2. Before I went asleep, I was sure that there was no 6-circle spirit warrior in the camp, and it is unlikely that such a weak dungeon break would attract powerful adventurers. Moreover, all the 7 energy signatures are coming from the same place. They are likely to be enemies, but that headless guy is in 7 circle. Is it a collective summoning or an equal contract? While Shang Wen was analyzing the strength of the opponents at a quick pace, the Headless Knight was back and rushed towards its target. Instead of taking it head-on, he backed off and sprouted his flame wings before flying higher. As the Headless Knight also followed him, he realized that he was the target. Shang Wen didn't take long to make his judgment and shouted at the panicked soldiers and adventurers as he evaded another attack. "Everyone, get back and protect yourselves. Wang Li, take charge. The enemies are in the 2 o'clock direction. No one below 4 circle will engage the target." Wang Li is a captain, who was considered the strongest 5-circle realm expert in the entire southern troops. The second prince treats her like a brother and trusts her more than all the 6 lieutenant generals under him. So he readily gave away the responsibility of leading 1,000 soldiers while he gets busy with the Headless Knight. Wang Li, who was in the battle mode, holding the weapon jai, addressed everyone, those who are above 4 CI. She was just getting started, but the enemies didn't give her an opportunity to display any interim leadership. The leader of the hooded group let out a smirk as he raised the staff. The tip gave a dark glow before a huge seal appeared before he and the skeletons rose from the ground. All of them have swords in their hands. In the midst of them, there are two armored skeletons on ghostly horses. They rushed out of the darkness while collectively giving a piercing cry. Mark opened his eyes because of the noises around. His sleep was disturbed. What's going on? Elena quickly answered, Big brother, an ambush from unknown enemies. All of them are necromancers. Necromancers, here. Mark got up from the mattress. He didn't rush out readily and just asked, what realm is the strongest enemy? Advanced Stage 7 Circle. It is a headless knight summoned from a group of 7, currently busy battling against the general of the south. Elena didn't hide anything. Upon hearing everything, he finally got out of the tent only to see a mess out there. The adventurers are running away. The soldiers are fighting the skeletons with swords, and the weak ones were gathered and taken by a couple of captains to a safe location, as per their general's orders. Oh boy, what kind of luck is this? Of all the days, an attack should happen on the night I stayed at this camp. Mark complained to himself, feeling incredibly annoyed that his sleep was disturbed. Ding, whether your 7 points of luck were triggered, or the remaining 3 points of misfortune were triggered depends on the host's actions. What do you mean? Mark was confused by its sudden statement. Since the system communicated to him on its own, he realized that there was something that the system was hinting at. As a response, the system gave him a notification. Ding, you received an emergency quest. Assist the second prince. Ding, you received an emergency quest. Capture the masterminds. Ding, you received an emergency quest. Snatch the summoned being. Ding, choose one of the quests. 3 emergency quests. This was the first time Mark had ever received multiple emergency quests at the same time and was asked to choose one. Emergency quest I, assist the second prince. Description: assist the second prince to fend off the enemies in killing the headless knight. Reward: Shang Wen's affinity with the store increases by 2 levels. Emergency quest I, capture the masterminds. Description: capture the summoners and end the battle. Reward: unknown, depends on the captured enemies. Emergency quest I, snatch the summoned being. Description: form a summoning contract with the headless knight after getting acknowledged by him. Quest item: summoning contract exclusive. Reward: lottery wheel pick ticket, limited 7 days. Due to the previous deal, the second prince's affinity is already at level 1. 2 more levels mean it will be level 3, and I get to unlock another exclusive weapon. However, if the prince started buying panzers and even higher-ranked weapons in the future, the affinity was bound to be increased naturally. The second option is to capture the enemies that summon this headless guy, but it is easier to kill them than capturing. The reward is unknown, but knowing the system, the reward will be good. As for the third option, having this summoned being will increase my security even more, but I have to shell out a lot to attain neutrality with it. Moreover, I already have 10 points of luck. A lottery pick ticket is unnecessary. It only reduces the time by a week. Mark weighed his options for a few moments and then came to a decision. He went for the safest route, the one that has the least work but yields more results. Ding, emergency quest I is accepted. Ding, emergency quest I and emergency quest II are automatically rejected. Elena, get ready to fly. Mark proceeded to open the inventory and click on the image of the helicopter. Ding, would you like to enter the vehicle or summon outside? Summon Elena as pilot and me as commander. Both of them disappeared, replaced by an attack helicopter. As the rotor blades generated powerful winds to blow off the tents nearby, some of the soldiers who are retreating to the safe route glanced in the direction of the vehicle. The attack helicopter took off from the ground, attracting the attention of the second prince, the 7 necromancers, and everyone else except for the skeletons and the headless knight. Shang Wen let out a smile. Somehow, it feels reassuring when this flying puppet is an ally. Maybe it's because of the person inside it, or maybe it's just its raw power. A few of them recognized it while a few of them were amazed. Captain Wang Li shouted as she slashed the blade at the ghostly horse of the Death Knight and injured it. Concentrate on the battlefield. Everyone move. Meanwhile, the necromancers became nervous. One of the 6 followers who were silent until now opened his mouth. It resembles the same puppet that defeated Song Yun and Sui Rong. That means Cerberus Slayer is here. What do we do now, Lord He? He Jiang, the Peak 6 Circle expert, replied in a serious tone as he raised his staff once again. Go all out. Bring out the wraiths. I'll let the Lich King go on a rampage. Before the Headless Knight vanquishes, we will annihilate everyone down below. And once our trump card is defeated, we will dismiss our summons and leave. Everyone nodded and started their incantations. In about 10 seconds, 6 of them summoned wraiths, which are undead creatures that are in the form of dark spirits. Each of them is as powerful as peak rank 5 spirit warriors. The remaining one, the leader, summoned a being, who looks almost like the Headless Knight except that there was no horse, and he had a skeleton that was covered by a platinum-grade helmet. Along with his broadsword, all of his other pieces of armor were also in platinum grade, and his eyes were glowing in the darkness. Chapter 148.3 Ambush from the Necromancers Part 3. What the hell are those things? More than half of the soldiers started to shake non-stop as they were overwhelmed by fear when the wraiths were added to the skeletons. And when the Lich King entered the scene by killing a captain and a few soldiers in a single slash of his sword, the remaining adventurers started to run away for their lives. The soldiers also wanted to run away, but they couldn't. If they desert the battlefield, they will become traitors. Not only they will be killed, but even their families will also be exiled from the respective province. Along with that, their properties will be snatched away by the regional powers like the major clan. But if they die on the battlefield, their families will be paid enough compensation, and if the said soldier has a kid or a sibling, then the latter would receive a post somewhere in the 3 departments with a proper wage. In the end, they grit their teeth and are forced to fight the skeletons, while the elite-level soldiers help the captains to fight against the wraiths. Meanwhile, in the sky, the second prince blocked the attack of the Headless Knight. As their weapons clashed, the prince pushed away for a few meters before he regained control and flew back towards the enemy. His eyes fell on the ground. As they were about 250 meters above the ground, it was taking a while for Elena to fly the helicopter higher. Shang Wen realized that it might take at least 10-20 seconds before he gets help from Mark, and he couldn't leave the Lich King to his subordinates. They weren't powerful to face it. A thought appeared in his head. They are undead. That is why this attack was taking place in the dark, if that's the case. He raised his arms and started the incantation. It's the same spell he used during the previous dungeon break. O, the god of fires, Yurong, I crave thou to bless me the flames of the eternal traveling lamp to produce a replica. A ball of flames appeared in his hands. The Headless Knight charged toward him once again. Shang Wen flapped the wings and dodged to the left. Meanwhile, the ether energy gushed out of his palms, increasing the size of the balls. By the time the helicopter reached 100 meters altitude, the second prince had already launched a mini-sun into the sky, illuminating the entire battlefield. Skrog Kraya. The skeletons and the wraiths started to scream in agony. Crescent slash. Wang Li jumped high and spun around before slashing a wraith in her path, destroying it in one move. Kraya. The Lich King let out a powerful roar before shifting his attention to Wang Li, who appeared to be the strongest on the battlefield. He started to rush towards her. Landing on the ground, she shouted, "Everyone, take advantage and kill these dark spirits." When one more wraith and a skeleton knight were dead, everyone's morale was boosted a bit. The facial expressions of the necromancers changed. Back to the battle in the skis, the helicopter is slowly ascending as if it has all the time in the world. Since the enemy is in the 7-circle realm, Elena thought she might need to depend on Hellfire missiles, but to fire those, the altitude of the helicopter should be at least 100 meters above the targets. She wasn't also in a hurry because the situation is in control. But Mark started to become a bit restless upon seeing the tide of the battlefield suddenly turn in their favor. He was here to help out the prince. The more casualties happen, the more precious his assistance would become. If everything can be handled by them alone, how would the prince feel grateful towards him? This is the reason Mark was worried. He decided to finish it as quickly as possible. Okay, let's go with the big attack right away. He looked at the controls before him. On the right side, there were buttons in different colors. He pressed on the black one. Ding, 50% ether energy will be detected. Proceed. Yes. Ding, please lock the target. Ding, target has been locked. A blinding flash of light covered the whole helicopter, grabbing the attention of the prince as well as the headless knight for a moment. A megaphone appeared below the flash of light. A voice came out of it. Your Highness, move away. The message was quite simple, but the second prince was smart enough to understand the meaning and just used his phoenix wings to fly away. The headless knight appeared to be confused for a moment. Should he go after the prince, or should he go after this new power that is threatening its life? Alas, it isn't a free summoned being to make its own choices. It conveyed its thoughts to the necromancers. In about 3 seconds, the headless knights received a reply. Forget about the new enemy and destroy that mini-sun in the sky. The headless knight looked at the sky. It raised its double axe. Powerful dark energy covered it. Before it even launched an attack, a sudden concentrated beam of energy was shot towards the headless knight. The distance between them is only about 150 meters, and the beam, which is traveling at the speed of light, is impossible to dodge. The headless knight didn't get the time to defend himself and was hit by the beam while the second prince stopped flying and let free fall to land on the ground. By the time he landed on the ground, there is no headless knight or horse. It was erased completely. Oh, the ultimate attack of this Eurocopter tiger is different from the battle tank, Mark exclaimed in surprise as he looked at the notifications. Ding, you completed the emergency quest. Ding, Shang Wen's affinity with the store rose to level 3. Ding, you unlocked a grenade launcher. Now, that's a big jump from a shotgun. A smile appeared on his face. He doesn't know whether the system uses anything that was out of his knowledge, but what he observed so far is that the system's 4-beam grenades generate far more explosions than usual grenades. Every time he sees the level of explosion, it would remind him of C4. Well, this mystery along with others isn't something that he cannot solve right now. He had to go with the flow and think about it later. Okay, now I can offer these weapons to the prince. Speaking of Shang Wen, where is that buffed guy? Mark shifted his attention to the screens. On the third screen, the prince was spotted. He was looking at the helicopter with his mouth agape. Can this weapon even do powerful ether attacks? The second prince only saw the helicopter use the missiles to defeat Song Yun. He didn't expect energy attacks too. No wonder my father wanted 3 of them and didn't hesitate to reward an 80-acre of land to Lu Zhen. It would be nice if our army possesses one like this. A bit of longing developed inside the prince as he stared at the helicopter. It was then the megaphone appeared once again. Your Highness, the strongest has been dealt with. My assistance will end here as there will be more casualties on your side if I step in that mess over there. Chapter 149, The Second Prince's Decision. If the appearance of the mini-sun improved the morale of the soldiers, the defeat of the headless knight vastly boosted their morale. Everyone suddenly became energized. Wang Li became aggressive in her attacks and started going all out against the Lich King. A couple of captains joined her after taking out the remaining skeleton knight. Now there are only 5 wraiths, which are being debuffed by the mini-sun and lose their strength by at least a realm. The morale of the captains was at its highest as the second prince was flying towards the woods where the masterminds were hiding. Meanwhile, the necromancers were in a tight spot. What should we do now, Lord He? One of the hoods asked the leader. The peak stage 6 circle realm expert clenched his fist in anger as he stared at the helicopter in the sky. Damn that Lu Zhen. He is far stronger than we expected. and we also received misinformation about Shang Wen's strength. He appeared to be in a seven-circle realm. We are leaving. He made a decision and raised the staff. Just as he was about to create a portal, a necromancer screamed out, "Lord He, incoming attack. Dodge." He raised his head only to see a missile coming towards them. "Defend yourselves." A few of them jumped away to evade the attack, and the remaining pushed out ether energy from their bodies to form a barrier around them and block the attack. Within just a couple of seconds, the Hellfire missile already reached them. Boom! Upon contact with a barrier, the warhead detonated, causing an enormous explosion. All the 100 meters around them were dust into dust. Nothing remained, neither the trees nor the corpses. The 4 circle elite soldiers around the perimeter were blasted away. None of them were dead but suffered heavy injuries. The skeletons, wraiths, and the Lich King disappeared. Everyone started shaking in fear once again because of the powerful explosion nearby. The second prince halted his movements and raised his head to look at the helicopter once again. A trace of surprise appeared on his face. He was feigning earlier. Looking through the screen, Mark grabbed the communication device and changed the setting from the speaker to the mic. "Thanks, Elena. Good job in spotting their location." "I'm glad to be of some help, big brother," Elena replied while letting out a smile. The helicopter slowly started to descend onto the ground amid everyone's gazes. He stepped down along with Elena and started to walk. The one who was the most shocked is Lu Zhen, who never expected the harmless-looking Lu Zhen is far more powerful than their general. At least his weapons are. The night passed away within a couple of hours. As the dawn arrived, the soldiers just treated like everyday crises and started their day with morning exercise. Thankfully, due to Mark's intervention, there were a few casualties and the battle didn't last for long. So, everyone felt it like some nightmare. As the spirit warriors were naturally strong-willed people, they managed to protect their mental state. Their lives didn't change from this incident anyway. On the other hand, Lu Zhen's life changed all of a sudden. When the fellow soldiers heard that he was the one that brought Mark to the camp, they treated him a lot better. Even the captains greeted him early in the morning with smiles. Of course, this landed him in an awkward situation for he doesn't know how to react. At around 8:30 in the morning, Lu Zhen was standing before the tent where Mark was staying. His heart was beating rapidly due to nervousness. "I can't believe I addressed such a mighty figure as brother. What if he was offended back then?" After watching how Mark single-handedly destroyed the enemies, he was too scared to meet him. But then, Captain Wang Li, under the orders of the second prince, instructed him to take care of Mark as long as he stays at the campsite. He cannot deny her orders and was afraid to go alone. In the end, he took a deep breath and entered the tent. He found Mark appeared to be in a meditative state, and Elena just sat nearby him. She sharply stared at the intruder. "Pardon for the intrusion." Lu Zhen gulped a bit and politely said to her, "The general ordered me to check on Lord Lu. Tell General Wen that my master will meet him during lunchtime," Elena replied to him. Lu Zhen bowed and left the tent. After leaving the tent, he let out a sigh of relief. "For now, I escaped." He went to the general's tent and reported the same to the second prince. "Okay, you may go," Shang Wen nodded. Once he left, the prince mumbled, "Once he wakes up, I need to talk about those new firearms. Before the world gets used to these firearms, I need to make sure the Imperial Army of the South stays on the front line. I should hurry up with the training and get approval from the Emperor. Putting it aside, I really wonder about the background of those necromancers. Not only they can summon the Headless Warrior, one of them can even summon a powerful Lich with armor. It was probably a set. Not everyone can afford such high-grade equipment. Should I write a letter to the Emperor for a formal investigation?" He fell into thoughts. Genesis Store, Imperial City. With the palace ordering the Song clan to speed up the process, the surroundings of the store looked clean without any ruins of the buildings. The store started receiving customers one day ago, although the majority of them appeared to be spies or tourists. All of them would just roam inside the store and be amazed by the interior. In the end, most would purchase a single-shot pistol and a few bullets. In the midst of them, a rich customer bought a P226 and 100 bullets, spending 70 gold coins. At present, Alan was packing a P365 and 50 bullets in a metal box. The metal box had the words Genesis word written in calligraphy and 2 pistols in X shape painted on it. This one was provided by the system for free after he purchased this expansion. However, the design was something that is decided by the system. Mark couldn't do anything about it. So, the previous design of the eye, which used to be carved on the wooden boxes, was scrapped away. He handed the box to an old man after receiving 40 gold coins. "Thank you for the purchase. Please come again." The old man took it as he mumbled, "I hope my grandson would like it." When he heard that, Alan gave a warning. The guns are inadvisable for the kids below 14 to use if they aren't spirit warriors. Please proceed with caution when you let them handle it. The old man nodded, "Thank you, I will." As the customer left the store, Alan took back the seat and looked at the wall clock. 8:40, 20 minutes left. After Mark and Elena left the Imperial City, Alan would open the store from 6:45 to 8:45 as a part of opening hours and then close the store until 12:30 in the afternoon. Just like every day, he was waiting for the closing time. Just about 2 minutes away from the time, a horse carriage stopped before the store, and a person wearing a cloak and hood entered the store. Alan spotted her and quickly stood up on his feet. "Welcome to Genesis. May I know what you are looking for?" The person didn't answer right away. After a brief silence, the person spoke in a high-pitched tone in a female voice. "Is Lu Zhen here?" "No, he isn't," Alan replied right away. "Do you know where he went?" the lady asked him. It isn't the first time he heard people asking about his master. Alan didn't think too much about it and answered the same thing he answered to others. "No, he only told me that he will be out of the city for a few days. I'm not sure when he will return either." However, he didn't expect the lady would drop an unexpected question. "I heard that you grew with Lu Zhen. Do you know the names of his parents?" Alan stared at her. Chapter 150, Mark's quadra-barreled weapon. Okay, shotgun barrel check, machine gun barrel check, grenade barrels check, curved triggers of the same size check, recoil springs check, shotgun cylinder check, safety pins check. One after another, Mark inspected each and every part that the robot made during the past 4 hours. Most of it is made of titanium, but as 1 kg of slab provided by the system wasn't enough for the weapon, stainless steel and aluminum alloy were also used. He couldn't hide his smile when he saw how perfect the measurements are. Not even a 1 error occurred when compared to his instructions. Originally, the Tigan III was supposed to be a twin-barreled fusion weapon between a fully automatic shotgun and grenade launcher, but after the battle, Mark suddenly changed his decision to modify the weapon design. Without taking sleep, he returned to the factory and added a few things to make it more complex. To simplify it a bit, he changed the shotgun into semi-automatic and reduced its ammo to 6. Thankfully, the assistant robot didn't have any feelings and just worked its best to match the provided instructions. Back to the present, Mark started to assemble the parts. Although the robot can do it, since this is the first weapon, he wanted to assemble it himself. It took a while for the entire weapon to be assembled before he handed it to the system for the rubber grip at the handle, the paint, and the quality check. Ding, analysis finished. No errors. Please test the weapon for the final check. The notification arrived while returning the firearm to Mark. He grabbed the lengthy magazine with his right hand and the handle grip with his left hand. Damn, this is one heavy weapon. The new finished weapon is a quadra-barreled with the longer one on the top and the shorter one on the bottom. The 28.5-inch barrel is a shotgun, and the 43-inch long and thin barrel is to shoot the 7.9 bullets. Apart from those two, there are 2 more 15-inch barrels, one on the left and right respectively, which are used to launch the grenades. There's a rotating cylinder with 6 rounds nearby the triggers. This shotgun works the same principle as the revolver, so there's no need for the fore-end and the action barrel to load the shotgun shells. And before the rotating cylinder lies a lengthy magazine, capable enough to hold 30 rounds of 7.9x57 bullets. Placing it on the table, Mark opened the gallery and first clicked on the attachment section. Only one was available. The rest are grayed out. He clicked on it. Ding, telescopic sight scope has been successfully created. He installed it on the upper barrel. Mark then clicked on the 40mm grenade. Ding, 40mm ammunition is in the list of exclusive sales. Do you wish to create personal or for the sale? I wish the system wouldn't ask this every time. He let out a sigh and clicked on the second option. Whenever Mark created the shotgun shells, the system will always send him a notification. If it is personal, then the system will charge the money, but if it is for sale, then he wouldn't be charged. As for the normal sales ones like bullets and other weapons, which are available for everyone, the system wouldn't charge him beforehand. It would let him create for free, but would charge him when he used it for himself. And of course, the weapons like missiles and all, which aren't for sale, they will also be charged at the creation stage. Ding, 40mm ammunition has only a 60% success rate of creation. Proceed. Yes. Ding, you failed to create a 40mm grenade. The success rate increases by 6%. 5 gold coins have been added to the debt. Ding, you failed to create a 40mm grenade. The success rate increases by 6%. 5 gold coins have been added to the debt. Damn, my 7 points of luck isn't helping here. Mark clicked on the creation once again. Ding, you failed to create a 40mm grenade. The success rate increases by 6%. 5 gold coins have been added to the debt. Ding, you successfully created a 40mm grenade. 5 gold coins have been added to the debt. Please check out your inventory. Ding, you successfully created a 40mm grenade. 5 gold coins have been added to the debt. Please check out your inventory. Okay, next. Mark then proceed to click on the 12-gauge shell. Ding, 12-gauge ammunition has only an 80% success rate of creation. Proceed. Yes. Ding, you successfully created a 12-gauge shotgun shell. Please check your inventory. After creating 6 of them, he loaded them into the cylinder, and the grenade went into the upper barrel. He finally went to click on the ammunition for the machine gun. It was the same ammo that is used in the Panzer. Ding, you successfully created 7, 9mm57mm ammunition. System, where should I test it? Asked Mark. Ding, anywhere in the outside world. Once it is successful, the system will provide a testing ground for the host. Okay, that's good. Mark nodded and placed the weapon in the inventory. Back to the real world, he opened his eyes and turned his head. Elena, let's go outside. Elena nodded with a smile and stood on her feet. Mark did the same before walking outside the tent. As soon as they left the tent, Mark felt several gazes from the soldiers. Legion hurried towards him and greeted him with a deep bow. Lord Lu. Inform General Shang Wen that I'm going to test my weapons. If he's available, he can meet me there. Mark pointed at the rock formations, located far away in the distance. It was on the opposite side of the dungeon portal. He and Elena started to walk away, without bothering to wait there any longer. It's not that he wanted to act arrogant or something. It's just that Mark was too impatient to test his weapon to care about anyone else. About 15 minutes later, Mark was about a kilometer away from the campsite but still continued to walk towards the location. He wanted the testing location to be far enough from the people so that no casualty occurs by mistake. A secure location will also make it difficult for anyone to spy. As he was walking, Elena reported to him a piece of important news. Big Brother, a person in 7-Circle Realm left the campsite and is traveling towards us through the air. I believe it is Shang Wen. Mark stopped in his tracks and turned around before raising his head. Like his android assistant mentioned, it was Shang Wen who was seen flying with his blazing fire wings. Within a minute, the second prince reached them but didn't land before him and just continued to fly. Mark understood in one glance. Well, I guess this guy has his own pride. He continued to walk. In the meantime, the second prince landed at the rock formations and patiently waited for half an hour until the two of them get there. Your Highness, he bowed slightly, following the etiquette despite not wanting to. The second prince returned the greetings with a simple nod, Lu Zhen. With his arms crossed behind the back, the second prince said, I heard that you wanted to meet here. Let me test fire my own weapon. Then I'll demonstrate the rocket launcher I showed you the other day. Mark replied while taking out the newly created shotgun grenade launcher.